The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of Turnbuckle Talk in partnership with thechairshot.com, presented by the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network and in association with NJPW.com. Turnbuckle Talk is sponsored by collarandelbowbrand.com, where you get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast. Turnbuckle Talk is also partnered with Phoenix at FNXFit.com, where you get 15% off all your health supplements simply by using promo code TBTalkPod. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching at TBTalkPod. Listen on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you catch your favorite programs. And now, pro wrestling fanatics, are you ready? Here are your hosts, Big Joe and Karufel.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rick Vickery, as always, doing our intro for us every single week now, Karl. Another episode of Turnbuckle Talk here before we get to the wrestling discussion. And as always, what's been going up there in Sault Ste. Marie, other than you wearing the purple version of the shirt that I'm wearing right now?
That's right. I love this purple version. I've always been an advocate and a fan of the color purple. It represents royalty, and that is what I am. I am royal.
See, when I
in Sault Ste. Marie,
when I think the color purple, I think Prince. I don't know what it is. Whenever I see somebody wearing purple, or I think something, it's nothing negative. I hear purple and I think Prince. That's just right, the first thing that comes to mind.
Always purple rain.
Yeah, man.
That's what comes to mind. Yeah. So in Sault Ste. Marie, I'm going to tell you, it's pretty much the same as everywhere else in Ontario right now. Mm-hmm. Shut down once again. Not necessarily shut down, but things kind of rolled back and scaled back. So we're looking, what is it now with this whole COVID-19 thing? 10 people inside, 25 people outside. And if you're violating any of that, there are going to be fines attached with it. So that's pretty much where we're at. Same as you.
Yeah, we've got more cases down here. I think we're up over 100 and something cases over in this area now. So it's one of those things where, again, it's all kind of happening. But I guess just the nature of my job, my day job, and just what we do here, definitely feel like I'm in a bit of a bubble. Like this isn't really affecting us at all. I mean, I know there's all this going on, but it's just kind of business as usual for me, for you, and for Turnbuckle Talk here, Karl.
That's right. And with this entire thing, I mean, it's not even as though it's affecting anything like going out to a store, going to a restaurant, going to the groceries. Yeah. None of that. Going to religious ceremonies. Like it has no effect on any of that. It's only personally inside of your home and on your property. So, yeah, I mean, that's... you want to hear discussions on that? I tell you what, go and listen to the Andy Martin show every morning. Yep. And there's definitely discussion about that on there. We won't get into that here because we're a professional wrestling podcast, not a COVID-19 podcast.
Absolutely, man. And actually, our first kind of story is not necessarily a wrestling story, but definitely involving a wrestler. This is kind of in the midst of trying to come up with topics. All this kind of came together rather late this week because it was a little bit on the slow end of things when it comes to the news here. But you came across something that I thought was really, really interesting involving an individual who is not human, Karl.
Oh, that's right. This guy is not human at all.
Yeah.
We're talking PCO,
Yep.
Pierre Karl Ouellette, 52 years old, I believe he is now. And I'm going to share the screen here. I'm going to share the audio, and I want you guys to listen to what PCO is doing here.
There we go. Now we can see what's going on. I don't hear sound coming through.
You have no audio.
No, unfortunately not.
Well, here we go. This is on the fly, as we always do. Let's stop that. Let's share the screen once again.
Just
share audio.
And while you're pulling it
Click
up
on
here,
the
Karl,
second screen.
just briefly on PCO while you're pulling it up there, just a man that just, it's such a cool story with him because, I mean, he was somebody who was very prominent in the WWE and had some runs in some other places, and then just kind of out of nowhere surfaced in Ring of Honor to have like one of the most incredible resurgences in professional wrestling I've seen in a long time. And I've had a chance to meet him in person, and just an incredible person. And let's see if we can get this going here. And I want to hear the story.
PCO right here at the corner of Kelly Street and Bellerive Street. I don't know what's going on with me, but I wanted to run 70 kilometers from all the way back in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, which is about Sabrevois, all the way to the Olympic Stadium. I have my loafer. I have like generic, no sponsors equipment. I never ran a marathon of my life. And 70 kilometers, that means I will be running all night until tomorrow. It should take me about 12 hours throughout pain and agony and all kinds of misery. So let's see how it goes, and I'll keep you posted. I've got a few journalists that they're monitoring me in real time with geolocalization and GPS, basically, so they know where I'm at and all the time. And about every 5 miles or 15 or 10 miles, I'm going to post on social media and tell you what my states of minds are. So here we go.
So there you go. That was PCO telling us about this run that he is doing here. The guy is just simply a beast here. I'm gonna pull this up here so that you guys can see.
Yep.
So lots of different stuff happened while he was gone. I think one of the biggest things here, just got to scroll down to find it, but the guy actually had to stop on one of the bridges that's there.
Yeah.
And here he says even the cameras in the city of Montreal were following PCO en route to the Montreal Olympic Stadium, 0.70 kilometer. I think it's just supposed to be 70 kilometer in 24 hours from Sabrevois, Quebec to his target, which is the Olympic Stadium. Little bit of warning. There are some, it's not really graphic pictures, but there we go. So that was his feat. Very soon he was going to be at the Jacques Cartier Bridge, and then the Montreal Olympic Stadium in sight. So I mean, he had to actually stop. You can see there that's blood. That's not dirt. That's actually blood. So he had to stop, and so I mean, it's wow, like just wow, coming from this guy here. I don't know. That's wild. Just wild, Joe. What are your thoughts on PCO doing this? And just so that everybody knows, before Joe gives his thoughts here quickly, this was not 12 hours. This ended up being 24 hours and 20 minutes.
Just rough the hop. I mean, just inspirational is the word that kind of comes up. Not only this, but just what he's done in this return to professional wrestling has just been amazing for somebody at his age to be able to do a quarter or even maybe even half of what he does is absolutely incredible, man. Just the things that he does in the ring and just it's in the legendary stories that we've told. Another good place to go for this, our friend Michael Jargo did a special interview with him for the Ring of Honor people, and it was absolutely fantastic. And you just hear some of these stories, like at Starcast when the first All In, he was essentially doing like little stunts where basically he stapled a picture of the Undertaker to his chest and let people throw darts at him. That's still one of my favorite stories. I mean, just that the guy is just an incredible human being, and it's inspirational. And just the fact that he's Canadian, and for myself, the fact that he's French Canadian, is just makes it that much more special.
And then, I mean, even as his Twitter handle says there, at PCO is not human.
Yep.
Doing stuff like this, it really makes you wonder, like, is this guy otherworldly? Wow.
Yeah. For sure, man. Well, I'm sure that we'll. I'm really looking forward to see more of him back in Ring of Honor again, and once they kind of get going full steam again. I mean, we'll get to a little bit of that later on. But speaking of,
I'm just super happy that we were able to give somebody a feel good story. Yep. Instead of always, doom and gloom, we want to try to provide some good stuff here too. And this is what this is. This is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of otherworldly, I guess this kind of segues over to this, especially involving these two gentlemen. I believe you can consider them otherworldly. We're talking Sting versus Undertaker here, Karl. This is kind of come up again out of nowhere, and I believe that there's a picture floating around there of basically the two of them, I think, in an airport somewhere where they're in there. It looked like they were kind of shooting the breeze. Their paths must have crossed in travels. Is there any chance, again, that this could ever happen? Because I know that there's a lot of time that's passed, and we've discussed this a few other times, and I think we've kind of bounced back and forth on this. I think we're getting into that realm over just too much time has passed by for both these gentlemen, unfortunately.
You're right. I have to agree with you there. This is something that, as great as it would be to see, I don't think that it is something that we're going to be seeing. You mentioned that photo that's been floating around. Yeah. That one is, I believe, not a recent photo. That is a photo from, I believe, 2 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, both men have said, like that would have been the ultimate, but at this point, it's just going to have to be one of those wish it would have happened or what could have happened had this worked out type of situation. So really, unfortunately, I don't think that we're ever going to see this match. Briefly on The Undertaker, Vince McMahon has been reported as saying that he was unhappy with the way that the Undertaker little docuseries on the network went, and that Vince McMahon actually had the Undertaker say never at the very end of it. So that was a request from Vince McMahon. So, I mean, money talks, right?
For sure.
Then, if Vince McMahon wants something, he busts his ass to get it done, as he always has. So it'll be very interesting to see. But personally, I don't believe we're ever going to see it.
Because we got to think even just age. Like I'm on Google right now as we're doing this kind of in real time here. Undertaker, 55 years old, right? So, and then if we're looking Sting, We are looking at, he's got to be roughly around the same age, if not older. We're looking at, we're looking at 61. Sting's, got a few years on him. And I just, man, especially for Sting at 61 and for his career to end with a neck injury like that, it's just, it's very, very risky to do something. And if you are, it would just be very, symbolic isn't the word that I'm looking for. It's just, it would have to be very just character heavy. It would be something that it would just be a very brief encounter, share, maybe each other's finishing moves, maybe. But I mean, other than like a stare down or something like that, I don't know what could be safely done with these two at this point. I think, Undertaker, maybe. Sting, no.
And you see, it's really interesting because we just talked about PCO, and that's pretty much around that same age bracket. I think the difference though is that PCO really wasn't on the grind, so to speak. So like the Undertaker was still continuously working date after date after date, while PCO was working minimal dates, we'll say, on independent scenes and stuff like that. So PCO has had, I guess, a little bit more time to rest and make sure that he's okay to do this, whereas the Undertaker's really beat himself up. Sting, same thing. I mean, Sting as well, after WCW, there was, some independent stuff in there. There was TNA wrestling in there as well. And, then he took some time off. And as bad as it is, I don't think that we really got the same quality of Sting that we were used to when he had his WWE run, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, both of these guys have really put themselves through the ringer, so to speak. And I don't see this as being something that is viable without there being more injury, as Joe said.
Yeah, it really is. For me, it's 10 years too late. So that's the number when I really look at things. It's 10 years too late. If we could have gotten Sting out of TNA Impact at the time, yes, then I'd see us, be all for it, regardless of where it is, whether it be a WrestleMania match or whatever happened in Saudi, which would have also been a strong possibility. But just especially for Sting, it's too late. It's
very much so. You're right. 10 years ago, this would have been perfect. But today, not so much.
Yeah. Now, it's not to say that we could actually see it happen. Vince, the powers that be, could force it to happen, but I would be afraid that we would kind of almost get that Shawn Michaels kind of situation happening again, where when he had that comeback, that wasn't necessarily bad, but it didn't feel like the Shawn Michaels that we remember, and that I'll be afraid that it would tarnish the legacy for both of these guys. Right? In the big picture things.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah. Now, the next thing here on possibilities and a possible return here, we're talking Miss Ronda Rousey. I'll let you go first on here on this, Karl. What do you think about the possibility of her coming back, and whether this would be a positive for not necessarily professional wrestling, but for WWE specifically? Would this be is this a good thing for them to bring her back?
At this point, no, it is not. I don't think that she's really gonna give anything more than she had in her year run that she had. Unfortunately, like you said with our last topic, it's a little too late. Now, Ronda Rousey, after she had left the WWE, had gone back and tried doing some more MMA, and then had her own YouTube series show, whatever, with her husband, and different stuff that she was doing, where she was calling out professional wrestling and talking about, it's all fake and different stuff like that. That would have been the time to bring her back. Now people are just going to be pissed off because they didn't capitalize on her comments before, and now her comments are negative as opposed to them being something that could have been and turned into positive.
My issues with Miss Ronda Rousey here are multiple fronts here, Karl. She hasn't endeared herself to the fans, especially during this time off, doing the video game streams and whatnot, and basically crapping all over the professional wrestling business, kayfabe or not. That just that. Yeah, you could make the argument that that's her being a heel, blah blah blah, but just it doesn't really kind of come off that way. She doesn't pull that off well. Second of all, the MMA aspect of her professional wrestling, she very much goes for that kind of hybrid kind of style, but she doesn't pull it off in a way that's believable, especially when it comes to doing the submissions and specifically like the armbar and the kimuras. She doesn't kind of protect it very well. It's done very much kind of like out in the open, and you can see that the limbs are being bent in a direction that wouldn't cause pain. So it doesn't make it believable. And the third thing that really, really gets me going about this here, Karl, is, and you picked a good picture with this, because as you all should be aware by now, Mr. Roddy Piper was my favorite professional wrestler of all time. And the fact that she has kind of taken that persona, so to speak, really, really bothers me, because she is not even in the same realm of existence as Mr. Roddy Piper, all right? Not even in the same realm of existence. Yeah, she's done some training with Jean LaBelle, and not to take anything away from Jean LaBelle, arguably probably one of the best judo practitioners that there has ever been on the face of this planet. But when it comes to professional wrestlers, Ronda Rousey is not a professional wrestler, in my opinion. She is a MMA retired fighter who quit when she got her ass beat. She cried like a little baby, came over to professional wrestling, and arguably the same thing happened again. She comes off as a spoiled little brat, and when she doesn't get what she wants, she leaves. You're right. That's my opinion on Miss Ronda Rousey.
Yep. Those opinions are shared.
Now, that might not be everybody's opinion out there, and if you feel differently, feel free to hit us up in the comments, and we can address that going forward. Now, let's get off some WWE stuff here, Karl. Let us talk about Ring of Honor. It's been a little while since we've actually sat down and actually really kind of talked about Ring of Honor, because they've been kind of not really doing a whole lot due to COVID-19, but they are going to be having a tournament for the Sapure Championship, which we addressed kind of pre-COVID. We had talked about this, and it seemed to be kind of on a hiatus, but it looks like we're going to get into this. I'll let you bring up the graphic, and this is pretty much the bracket to happen for this tournament. There's some interesting names on here, and some unknowns, at least some unknowns to myself. Karl may be aware of some of these people, but let's start off on the left-hand side with the A block. We have Jay Lethal and Dalton Castle, Dave Finlay and Rocky Romero, young Yile. I'm assuming that's Tracy Williams and Taylor over on that left side. Then we have Jonathan Gresham, Yuta Delirious, who used to kind of had the book in Ring of Honor for quite a while. Seidel, Woods, King, Black, and Deppen. Deppen I'm not that familiar with, but I want to get some better on the names in that second part of that.
Yeah, Young, I can tell you that's Silas Young.
Silas Young, yeah.
And it's Ye, Y-E-H-I.
Yeah, Fred Ye. Tracy Williams, Tracy Hot Williams. Sauce Williams. And then we have Russ Taylor, who I'm not that familiar with. Jonathan Gresham, of course.
I'm not familiar with Russ Taylor either.
And then Wheeler Yuta, which I'm not that familiar with. Matt Seidel, of course, most of us are pretty familiar with him. He's actually currently assigned to All Elite Wrestling, which is interesting that he's competing in Ring of Honor. Josh Woods.
Josh the Goods Woods.
Kenny King. PJ Black was the Black one that I was looking at. And Tony Deppen, which is another name that I'm not that familiar with. So a good mix of young kind of unknown talent, some veterans, some staples like Dalton Castle, some guys like Rocky Romero, Silas Young. I mean, just it's a real nice mix in this tournament. And I think that's what makes tournaments really interesting, when you have a real nice kind of mix of all different stuff there, as opposed to everybody kind of being too similar from each other.
Very much so. And I mean, I think that they've really broken down these brackets into stuff that we can really see some good matches coming out of them. Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle, my goodness, like that's going to be like, if they don't go out there and make this a contender for match of the year happening, wow, because the two of them can do it. Dave Finlay, Rocky Romero, same thing. Like, I mean, just all of these names. Yeah, and I love seeing Silas Young still included. One of the veterans, the older guys, as you might want to call him, although he's not really an old guy. He's actually quite young, but just been in the business for so long, and just phenomenal work coming from Silas Young. This is going to be so good to see. I can't wait for all of this to happen.
Before we move on, then, let us. What do you think is going to be the final, and who takes this whole thing here, Karl?
Oh my goodness! You want the final coming right down to Rocky Romero and Josh the Goods Woods.
Wow, some dark horse picks there. I would say for me. I'm going to go a bit of a different direction. I think that what's going to happen here is we're going to have a Jay Lethal, Jonathan Gresham final. This is going to kind of rekindle that feud going on between these two. Otherwise, I could see Dalton Castle versus like a Kenny King or a Jonathan Gresham as well. I think whoever comes out of that matchup with Jay Lethal and Dalton Castle is going to be in the finals. And then I think that Gresham will face whoever wins that. That's what I think that's going to come down to.
Hey, no, that's cool. That's cool. I'm kind of looking at it as a, the Pure Championship is going to be almost like a mid-card type of title, right? Yep. And even though you've got some main event stars and names in there, I think that those names are really just in there for that reason, just so that they have some names. I think that they're really going to give this to a rising up and coming star. So yeah, I mean, that's why I chose either Rocky Romero or Josh Woods.
Yeah, Josh Woods is a really good pick. And I think, there are a few. I think Tracy Williams could be another one that could be interesting. He has a pretty good following. Yeah, it'll be curious to see what direction they'll go. I like Jay Lethal because he's really good at these kind of situations where they really need somebody to kind of carry, to kind of pick the ball up and run with it in this kind of situation. So that's why I like him as a pick. But yeah, like a Tracy Williams or like a Josh Woods would be a great pick as well, I think.
I just thought they might want to possibly rekindle an old kind of story going back before, and I hate even using this term, but pre-COVID, Silas Young and Josh Woods were kind of like in a little faction together where Josh Woods was kind of like being mentored by Silas Young.
Yep.
And they could rekindle something like that and bring it down to, Silas Young and Josh Woods, and then have kind of almost like a passing of the torch type of situation where Silas Young gets defeated by Josh Woods.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Some of the matchups have already happened. Let me just go find this briefly here. It looks like Jay Lethal has actually already advanced in this, and so has Jonathan Gresham. So already looking like it might head kind of in the direction that I'm kind of predicting, which is very, very interesting here, Karl.
Oh, yes.
All right, before we go to our next topic, we might as well take a little bit of a break here and let us hear from some of our friends. Let's go with, let's hear from our friends over at Collar and Elbow Brand.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
The dictionary defines hero as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Being a hero in life is far more than words printed on a page. It takes an unwavering code, a compass that points true north, always. And in times like these, it takes sacrifice. Hero shouldn't be a word defined by a dictionary. It's a word that should be defined by the best of us. Hero has a new definition.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
All right, so there you go. A little word from our friends over at collarandelbowbrand.com, where if you use promo code JKPodcast, of course, you can always get 10% off. And, of course, our friends over at thechairshot.com, make sure and always use your head. I love that tagline that those guys have.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is fantastic. It's very catchy. It's very today when it comes to professional wrestling. And, thechairshot.com. Go and check them out.
Absolutely. All right, Karl, let us move on to some New Japan Pro Wrestling, arguably my favorite wrestling promotion going on right now. And we're talking the G1 Climax Tournament here. And we're going to go through and kind of see what's been going on here with this.
Sure.
So, night one of the A block here has happened. So we had the young, or kind of our typical kickoff match, the young lion match, Uemura versus Yota Tsuji. Your boy Yota Tsuji, unfortunately, getting the loss on that one, but he redeemed himself the following night, which we'll get to. First, tournament matchup here, we had Will Ospreay versus Yujiro Takahashi. That's the Takahashi who's in the Bullet Club, by the way, in case those who are wondering. Will Ospreay getting the win there. Tai Chi defeating Jeff Cobb in the first round. That is a very interesting one there, to say the least. And then we had Tomohiro Ishii being defeated by Mr. Murder Grandpa Minoru Suzuki. So interesting, Minoru getting a win over Ishii. That was a fantastic matchup, by the way. And then we had Jay White versus Shingo Takagi. Shingo getting defeated in that match, but definitely still a great match that may or may not come up later on in this episode. And then we had kind of the big kind of blockbuster match for the first night here, Karl. We had Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi, and Kota Ibushi getting the win over Okada in just under 22 minutes here. A really interesting first night and some interesting wins and losses, Karl.
It's always interesting when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah. This is, I mean, you kind of said yourself there, like Jeff Cobb lost
to Tai Chi. To
right?
Tai Chi.
Yeah, like that.
Wow.
Mind blowing right now. But as we said before on our last episode, this is a tournament that happens where matches continue to happen.
Yep.
And
these
points could change in a blink of an eye.
Yep.
So we could see Jeff Cobb, even with 0 points, shoot right up and become the top of the top if these top five lose. If they all lose 2 matches and Jeff Cobb wins 2 matches, well, that's putting him above everybody else. So
sure.
It's as easy as that. 2 matches won, 2 matches lost can make a huge difference.
For sure. And it is a little weird, though, even just after the one night of seeing Okada in the mid of the pack there. That is a little strange, to say the least, when it comes to that.
He's not in the mid. He's in the bottom.
Yeah,
because right now you have a top 5.
Yeah.
And you have a bottom 5, so he's in the bottom.
Yeah, he's in the bottom right now, but
right,
that can change. Tai Chi, I think, was the real surprise. But I mean, they've been pushing Tai Chi quite a bit, so it's not. If you've been following Japan Pro Wrestling since we've gotten back up and running, it's not shocking to see him getting a win, but to get a win over Jeff Cobb, that was shocking to say the least. All right, so night 2, the first bit of the B block here, we had Yota Tsuji defeating Gabriel Kidd in the Young Lions match, just shy of 10 minutes. So it was a pretty good matchup, actually. And then we had Yoshihashi versus Juice Robinson, and Juice Robinson getting the win in a match going about 16 minutes. A pretty good matchup. Good to see Juice back in New Japan. And then we had, this one kind of hurts a little bit. And I know our friend Mr. Michael Jargo is probably particularly unhappy about this one. We had Toru Yano defeating Sonata in that first round via countout. Some typical Toru Yano shenanigans going on in that one.
And if you're following our friend Michael Jargo at Not Jargo on social media, you will see the disdain he had when this news came out that Yano got the win.
You just wait until he gets back going with Destino on the podcast. I mean, believe it or not, Jargo's still without internet after the kind of essentially a hurricane went through his area. Yeah. And but when he gets back on the air, you wait. We're going to hear some stuff from Michael Jargo, and eventually I'll be a guest on there again. So getting a little antsy for him to get back on the airwaves again. After that, we had Hiroki Goto versus Kenta. Of course, for those wondering, Kenta was formerly Hideo Itami in WWE and NXT. Kenta getting the win over Goto, which is a little bit surprising considering that New Japan tends to get kind of high on Goto for whatever reason. Yeah. But they gave the win to Kenta this time. This next one was definitely a surprise here as well. Here, Karl, we had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the recently dethroned IGP World Heavyweight Champion Evil. Zack Sabre Jr. again, the winner of Evil. I did not see that coming necessarily. Not taking anything from Zack Sabre Jr. I think he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. But to defeat somebody who was just champion, that's pretty big in my book.
It definitely is very big. Unfortunately for myself, when I think Zack Sabre Jr., we saw a lot of him with like NXT UK, stuff like that, and he seems a lot more like the 205 Live type of cruiserweight, in size and stature and look and stuff. So that's unfortunately how I perceptually see him. Knowing the work that he does, though, very, very different. He is a hard hitter. He is a heavyweight worker when it comes to in-ring work. But yeah, very, very odd. I think personally very odd to have Zack Sabre Jr. going over Evil. I don't know. I just find it very, very weird.
Yeah, it's definitely different. But I mean, those who follow him on a regular basis, I mean, just that he's one of these rare people in professional wrestling that can adapt to his opponent. There aren't too many professional wrestlers that do that. They kind of stick to their style, their move set. Zach can work on the fly, which I think is fantastic. And you can tell that he's been spending some time with Minoru Suzuki, because you can tell a lot of Suzuki has rubbed off on Zack Sabre Jr. in a good way. So some good stuff there. And I'm kind of curious to see how far he'll go in this tournament. I think he might surprise some people.
I think so as well. I think he will surprise, just as he has already. I mean, only good things from here. This entire tournament that's happening, I mean... Wow.
Yeah,
this is just going to be fantastic. And if what we've seen is any indication right now of how this is going to go, everybody should enjoy this, and everybody needs to go and watch these first two blocks that happened. I mean, if you haven't, you're really missing out on some fantastic professional wrestling.
For sure. And the last match to finish the evening, we had Tetsuya Naito defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi, defeating the Ace in a little under 30 minutes. This was the longest match of both nights up to this point. And I mean, Tetsuya Naito, I mean, the guy brings the house down every time, and it was absolutely fantastic. And then getting the win over one of the most popular guys in New Japan right in that first round. So that was a big win right off the hop there.
Oh yeah.
And to just
I'm super interested in this entire thing. I mean, they've essentially they've gripped me already. Just with everything that's happened. I mean, for a lot of people, this can seem like it's a very long, drawn out type of, thing that goes on. But essentially, what's happening here is that New Japan Pro Wrestling is giving you professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And giving you great professional wrestling. And mixing things up, not just keeping the same two participants going into the ring all the time. You're seeing the same people on a regular basis, but you're seeing them against different opponents for point systems. Like it's fantastic.
And you can see a lot of really interesting and some possible dream matchups happening. Like just to kind of fast forward to the upcoming rounds to give you an idea of some of the matchups that we're in for that like leap off the page to me. All right, so we have like Jeff Cobb versus Shingo Takagi. That's going to be huge. That's going to be a big one. Cobb versus Shingo is going to be pretty damn special. We have Minoru Suzuki versus Tai Chi. That could be an interesting one as well. Kota Ibushi versus Jay White. That one kind of leaps off the page for me as well. We have Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. In night 4. Also, we have Jeff Cobb versus Minoru Suzuki in night 5. That one's going to be really, really interesting. That one's on my radar. And on that same night, we've got Ospreay versus Shingo there. And then we have Okada versus Jay White. That night 5 is going to be one to put on the calendar, folks. That one is going to pretty much like every match there is top notch. Going further down,
their main event matches, all of those.
Yeah, like Zack Sabre Jr. versus
sounds fantastic right now.
Night 6, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kenta. That's essentially like a almost, if I could think, like a Cruiserweight Classic rematch almost. We have Toru Yano versus Evil. That's going to be sure to be entertaining. Kota Ibushi versus Jeff Cobb. I mean, just Ospreay versus Jay White. I mean, just damn. I mean, there's so many good matchups coming up in this tournament. But that night 5 is going to be awesome.
Yeah. No,
awesome.
This entire thing. I mean, like this is something different. It's innovative. It's something that that New Japan Pro Wrestling's been doing for a while. This isn't new for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
It is not.
This is unfortunately, this seems to be something that is new, more to the North American market. More of this needs to happen. This is honestly fantastic. Not All Elite Wrestling almost kind of does the same thing because they count wins and losses, but it's not really in like a tournament type of style.
Nope.
Wins and losses, help determine number one contenders, next in line for the championship match, stuff like that. So they kind of adapted a little bit of that style, which I think is fantastic. I love seeing the different standings for, All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
And this is just, an indication that what New Japan Pro Wrestling has been doing for years now.
Yeah.
Really does have a positive, in my eyes, a positive impact on North American wrestling.
They really do aim and shoot for that sports like presentation without a whole lot of the other kind of stuff going on. You'll find that there's not a whole lot of really intricate storyline. I shouldn't say that there isn't any storyline going on, but just the majority of it is done inside the wrestling ring and more in that context, and not all of this other kind of stuff going on.
It's done a lot more inside the ring, like Big Joe says, and at the press conferences.
Yes.
That's where they get the opportunity to go out there and cut that promo that they wanted to cut. That's their opportunity when they have those press conferences, which seem to happen quite often. Generally after every event that happens. After the event, you can see online that there's a press conference that happens between the contenders that were on the show that night. And that's really where they kind of build storyline, and they build it in a fashion that grips you and really pulls you in and kind of sometimes rips at the heartstrings. And I know, Big Joe, this is not one of your favorites, but there was a time where Hulk Hogan even kind of got involved with some of these press conferences and was able to, kind of start things, with someone else. And that's how they built and started that little contendership and storyline was through that conference that happened. And I like, that's fantastic. I think that is, again, a very novel idea. And I am super happy that New Japan Pro Wrestling is out there for us and with something as good as that.
It's interesting that you would bring up Hulk Hogan, and given that we were just talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, because Mr. Terry Bollea has actually spent time over New Japan Pro Wrestling, not a long time, but it was actually interesting because he actually put on some good matches there mainly because here, Karl, over New Japan, they weren't going to just let him be the sports entertainment guy, Hulk Hogan. They made him work, and he proved that he could actually work in the ring where he really wanted to. I will not take that. As much as I like to hate on Hulk Hogan over in New Japan, he did pretty damn well over there. Gotta say.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason why I brought it up is because Hulk Hogan being the biggest North American name and star in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Him going over there doing that really brought to North America mainstream what was happening over in New Japan and how those things actually worked. That was really, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but that was really my first experience of a New Japan Pro Wrestling conference or press conference after was when Hulk Hogan went, because that brought light to it over in North America. And then after that, I was like, holy crap, like this is really a great idea. Like they're really making the sport out of it and really showcasing that. And that's why I brought up Hulk Hogan, because that was my first taste and interaction of press conference with New Japan Pro Wrestling was because of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that when they do those press conferences. It's a nice simple way to kind of integrate some storyline kind of going on, but without having to go too over the top with it. All right, man. Let us do some breaking news. So not a ton of breaking news, not at least I didn't really find a whole lot. You may have found some stuff here, but the one that really stood out to me was just kind of a simple one here. It's not really necessarily news, but just an article that I came across, and I think it was worth bringing up. Mr. Jim Ross talking about a legend, a former legend that talent can really learn from. And the legend that he was referring to here, Karl, was Mr. Bobby the Brain Heenan. And
yeah,
wow, what a great pick, especially if you're somebody who's looking at getting into the commentary field or the managerial position. But I think especially if you're looking at somebody to be in that color commentary role, I mean, there were few that were better than Mr. Bobby the Brain Heenan. My favorite still of all time, one of my favorite lines ever said during commentary, during not even a match, just something going on, was Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. When Shawn puts Marty through the glass and you hear Bobby go, he tried to dive through the window to escape. Stuff like that. I mean, it's just not only comedy gold, it is just fantastic and just adds to that whole kind of entertainment surrealness of professional wrestling, just that kind of stuff. And he had several of these lines throughout his career that were just absolutely fantastic. And it made it hurt even more, like especially when you saw him kind of on his decline with his health, when you saw what started happening to his face and whatnot. Just like it almost made me cry seeing what he looked like in his declining years. Because I mean, just knowing that he had to work with Andre as well, just like he arguably had like one of the most successful careers, like kind of in that role and in that position. I mean, he did it. There aren't too many that did it better than him.
You're right. There isn't. And especially, those words coming from somebody who as well, we could almost throw into that same category, Jim Ross, right? Bobby the Brain Heenan, he had everything. Those one-liners, those zingers that he would come out with. Wow. Like the guy had the mental capacity and capability to just be right there.
Yep.
Like, he was never off. You never really, and if he did slip for some reason, his faculties were there.
Yep.
And he turned it around. It didn't matter if he had slipped up a little bit, he was right back onto it. And like, he made it seem like he was just flustered because of that's happening or something like that. Like, the guy, genius.
It's a quality. It's a quality missing in a lot of commentary. People, or you almost hear them kind of sitting there going line, waiting for production to kind of feed them a line to say, Bobby was on the ball. I mean, a lot of the stuff was just stuff he thought up in his own brain, like just brain, right? So, it's somebody that's just go watch. Just go watch. If you're somebody that's looking to kind of be a color commentator person, he's one of the best to study.
Definitely he is. I mean, and there is a lot of stuff out there. You can go to YouTube and find a lot of stuff on Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yep. And
you want to learn from the best, even as one of the best, Jim Ross has said, that's who you need to look at.
Yep. What do you have for breaking news here, Karl? Is there anything that you wanted to bring up?
Just something that's a little bit comical, I guess we could say.
I wonder if I'm thinking of the same thing. I wonder.
Maybe.
Does it involve
a power outage that happened?
Does this involve Mr. The Rock Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, cool. We're thinking of the same thing.
Okay, so there was a power outage that happened at The Rock's house, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's house.
This is pretty
He couldn't
insane.
get into his property because of the gate and it being an electrical gate.
Yeah.
So the guy literally ripped the gate off of the hinges to get onto his property.
And this is not just like your wimpy ass gate. Like, this is like a reinforced metal gate to keep people out.
Yeah, like this definitely this is his house.
Yeah.
This is his home.
Yeah.
He like
Insane.
and the guy just ripped it right off like a monster.
I wish there was video of it.
Monster.
I wish that there was video of it, but I guess there isn't. But
no, I don't think that there is. There was a photo that was floating around there, but yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Insane.
Another little. Oh, you got more on that?
No, just insane. I still think about it.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Something else that's a little bit insane. Cody Rhodes tried to trademark the American Dream once again and was denied.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
No. United States Patent and Trademark Office believes that Cody Rhodes is not making a good enough effort to really substantiate him getting that trademark, which is almost kind of unfortunate considering his father made that famous.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But WWE owns that. So it's really hard. The first was originally filed on March 10th, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And, continues to be denied request after request after request. This is the third time the trademark has been refused. The trademark office issued a request for reconsideration after final action denial. So I mean, Cody keeps on trying and trying and trying.
Vince must still have part ownership of that. Vince must still have part ownership, with the Dusty with the Dusty character. There must be some clash happening there. That there has to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be, definitely.
Yeah. Now, segue.
Wait, hold on a second.
Okay.
I just need to add in here that the examining trademark attorney provided the following notes on the file detailing the reason why the trademark reconsideration has been denied. So this is right from the trademark attorney.
Yep.
The mark is a stage name for a living individual whose consent is of record, and it also provides an acceptable specimen, including a flyer promoting the services. The current specimens fail to show the mark used in commerce in connection with the applied for service. In addition, it fails to function as a service mark, and it appears to be the stage name of a deceased wrestler. So essentially, they're saying you are not promoting anybody that's living, you're not using it for a living person, the person is deceased, you get no trademark.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was, I just wanted to make sure that we got that in there just so that people aren't going, well, why was it refused? Why was it denied? Right. Well, that's why.
That's why. Okay. Yeah, I guess that would kind of make some sense here. And speaking of Dusty here, what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen to share a little bit of news here, and I'm hoping that I can make this work here. I'm going to pull this up, and I want to share a Chrome tab. Share Facebook, and I'm hoping that this will come up here, and hopefully you can see that there. With our friend Dusty Gold. He is going to be, actually this is coming up tomorrow, and on AEW Dark, him and Ryson, and he's going by the name Xander Gold. He's going to have a tag team match with a couple of the guys from the Dark Order. So our friend Dusty Gold, Karl, is going to be on AEW All Elite Wrestling. How freaking cool is that?
That's amazing. That is awesome. I mean, I love being able to see people that we know, that we've talked to, that we've had on the show before, to see them rise up and go to different heights. And that's exactly what's happening right here with Xander Gold.
Xander Gold.
You know, we interviewed him and knew him as Dusty Gold. But now Xander Gold, and I'm stoked about this. Like, tomorrow night, YouTube is where you go so that you can watch AEW Dark, and you'll be able to see our friend going out there facing 5 and 10.
Pretty surreal. Pretty surreal to see a guy that that we've interviewed and become friends with. He's actually probably been a guest on our podcast probably more than anybody else, and just to see him now be on this national platform in professional wrestling, which, I mean, I don't think I've met too many people that have really kind of strive to be at that level more than Dusty. Dusty has been that guy, just, he works hard, and it's good to see that his hard work is paying off for him and getting a chance to show his craft and his ability on national television. I mean, worldwide, people are going to be able to see this all over the world. So congratulations to our friend, Mr. Dusty Gold.
They're definitely going to be able to see it worldwide, as well as on the national broadcast of Dynamite. They actually go through and mention the previous night's Dark and who the winners and losers were of those matches. So even his name will be put out there onto national television. So with, Xander Gold and Ryzen taking on 5 and 10, does that mean that the two of them are going down to the 5 and dime?
Who knows? Interesting. And I'm hoping that it'll turn into a regular thing for him as well. And so
me too.
We'll see. And I'll work on getting him back on. We just got to make sure that he'll be allowed to do things outside of the company. So we'll have to make sure we get all ducks in a row. And then if we can, we will get Mr. Xander Gold here on Turnbuckle Talk, who's currently doing stuff in AEW. That's pretty freaking cool, in my opinion. All right, Karl, let us do our Match of the Week segment. All right, Match of the Week. Who do you got?
I have got from AEW Hangman Adam Page versus Frankie Kazarian.
Good pick.
Yeah, I loved this match. I mean, it wasn't like it was a fantastic over the top type of matchup, but just the little things, the little bit of psychology and ring work that was happening inside of this match. You could see Hangman Page almost heel, almost turning and being very heelish with things, but he kind of brought it back a little bit, and then it came forward again a little bit, and just those little teases that were happening, kind of giving us a almost confused and distraught Hangman Page, considering, he kind of went out there and said, hey, I still want us to be a tag team. Let's get back together with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, now playing full on heel, decides to say, nope, we're done. Goodbye. I'm solo. whatever.
Glad to finally see that, by the way. Glad to see that. They needed to get Kenny to be here.
Yeah, me too. I'm finally glad to see that. But I mean, to have him go into this match kind of with that air of distraught on himself and to still put on a fantastic match with arguably one of the best wrestlers today, Frankie Kazarian. Fantastic to see. I loved it. Big Joe, what is your pick for match of the week?
So mine recently has been coming from like Ring of Honor and OVW, and there's been some great stuff kind of going on there. But mine is kind of going back to what's kind of becoming my bread and butter with watching professional wrestling. We're talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is where my pick is coming from, and more specifically from the night one of the A block coming from Osaka Prefectural Gymnasium in Namba, Osaka, Japan. The matchup between Mr. Jay White and Shingo Takagi, which went just shy of 20 minutes. Again, when Shingo has a match in New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's on my radar. And when you put him up against a guy like Jay White, who is an interesting person in professional wrestling because he's somebody who plays a heel character and gets a lot of heat from people, and people perceive this as him not being good. Guess what, people? If you're being a bad guy and you're getting that much heat and getting people to hate you, that means you are doing your job exactly the way you should be. And
Exactly right.
and Jay, and he's fantastic in the ring, and he's great at being a heel, getting people to hate you. That's what you're supposed to do, and he does it very, very well. And Shingo, I mean, he's like your powerhouse babyface if there ever was one. So it's just a great matchup between these two guys. If you have the chance or the ability to go watch this match from that first round, do yourself a favor and go watch it. My boy Shingo not getting the win, but I mean, damn, the guy still looks good even when he loses. It's absolutely fantastic. And I thoroughly enjoyed that as well as the first 2 nights of the G1. It was all fantastic.
And if you unfortunately do not have a way to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling,
I feel sad for you.
You can always go onto YouTube, follow them on YouTube, and they put out little video clip packages of the matches that happen. So I mean, you'll get 2 to 5 minutes of match that happens. So definitely go and check out New Japan Pro Wrestling on YouTube and follow them there. I believe it is New Japan Pro Wrestling Official is the one that you need to follow. And yeah, I mean, once you're following them, you are going to fall in love with professional wrestling again.
Absolutely. All right, before we do our Showstopper segment here, let's take another brief break and hear from our friends over at Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Hi, my name's Barry Ratcliffe. You might recognize me from such films as The Longest Ride or Ted 2. Now, as a successful actor, I have 2 planes, a supermodel wife, countless exotic cars, and a ton of cash. You might think it couldn't get any better than this, but you'd be wrong. For only $4.99, you can get OVW Wrestling Network.com. That's OVW Wrestling Network.com for only $4.99. Now, will your life be as good as this? No. Will it be better? Yes, and I guarantee that. That's not valid anywhere. OVW Wrestling Network.com is only $4.99. Tomorrow's yesterday is today. Prices so low, they're insane. Want more bang for your buck? Well, so do I at OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. It's only $4.99 a month. In between excitement, me too. OVWWrestlingNetwork.com is only $4.99 a month. You get that incredible value. She cost me $17 million and I loved it. Want a real value? OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. It's only $4.99. That's a price so low. Well, it's insane.
So there you go, a little word from our friends over at OVW. They're doing some really great stuff recently. Most recently, they had their 1100th episode, and they even introduced like a North American championship, and just Mr. Al Snow is running a great ship over there, and of course, our friend Mr. Michael Malcor is involved behind the scenes there. They're doing some great stuff, and I've started watching them a lot more, and I'm enjoying watching some wrestling again. It feels, like I had mentioned, that 1100th episode, one of the matches, actually the main event for that match was my match of the week. It feels very much like a homegrown promotion. You watch and you enjoy, and you don't sit and kind of pick through and nitpick. You just sit back and enjoy some good professional wrestling, and that's what they do really, really well.
They definitely do. And again, as we've mentioned, YouTube before, OVW
right?
Wrestling is on YouTube as well, and their shows go live on YouTube. So it's a fantastic opportunity for you. I believe Tuesdays as well. So AEW Dark as well as OVW Wrestling on Tuesday happen on YouTube. So, I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity for you to go and check out some up and coming stars, some rising stars in the professional wrestling business. I do want to mention as well that, like for OVW, Al Snow has a wrestling academy, and the wrestling academy itself is the first accredited professional wrestling school.
How cool is that? You can get like an actual degree in wrestling.
Yes.
Like, damn,
right?
like
That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I myself have, looked at and wanted to kind of do and start even here in the little city of Sault Ste. Marie. That would be fantastic. I would love to be able to get some kids and to be able to teach and have some, people be able to get a degree essentially at the end of things. Like that's dreams, that's goals. And I am so happy that our friend Al Snow is doing that, and just the work that is done since the purchase of OVW has been phenomenal.
Well, Karl, speaking of kids, that leads us right into our Showstopper segment. So yes, our Showstopper segment for this week involves the younger generation in professional wrestling here, Karl. Now, I don't know about you, but recently, not just recently, over the last little while, interacting with young people, and if professional wrestling does come up, I get either one of two things. I get either, what is that? Or, oh, that's that WWE stuff. Is that kind of the consensus? Is that kind of what you get as well?
It definitely is. That's, yeah, I mean, people are still, even the younger people still really, really know the names like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, and then John Cena.
John Cena's the big one,
right? Yeah. That's the big one. I do get, some younger kids that are talking about, the older stars because, well, maybe they've heard it from their parents or heard it from their family members or something like that, right? Or heard it from somebody like me, who's an old guy who's been watching professional wrestling for like nearly 35, 37 years. Yeah. So, I mean, that same for me. I mean, you get a lot of, what is professional wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
And you get a lot of, oh yeah, that's that Monday stuff. Right. So, I mean, it's still that stigma is there of just, oh, it's just that Monday night fake show that's on TV.
Yeah. What can we do? Because this kind of begs more of the question than the real heart of the topic here is, what can we do to generate some interest in professional wrestling amongst the young crowd? Now, I know that the immediate reaction or the path would be social media. But for quite a while now, I felt that it's really been kind of a detriment to professional wrestling. And I think especially in WWE, we see that effect of superstars, quote unquote, shooting themselves in the foot by doing too much or saying the wrong thing on social media. But I think that the problem with focusing too much on social media is that it enforces this short attention span as in this younger generation, because a lot of these younger people can sit through maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute or two, and if you're any longer than that, you've lost them. And I think that's kind of at the heart of the problem here, is that these shows, especially that Monday night one that you were just hinting at, 3 hours long. These kids don't want to sit through that, Karl.
No, they don't. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though, because I do, kind of tune in a little bit to Monday Night Raw as well as SmackDown, because I've been very interested in this Thunderdome aspect that they have, and interested in seeing the people that are there, looking at the demo, looking at the demographic of people that's there. And you know what? It's weird. It's very weird that we are even talking about this, because I notice that there is younger people that are watching.
Yeah.
They're part of the Thunderdome. So I'm wondering if maybe this Thunderdome was actually a good thing to maybe draw in that younger crowd, because where are they usually? Sitting in front of their TV on a gaming system, or sitting there watching somebody on YouTube playing Minecraft when they've got Minecraft that they could be playing themselves.
Yep. A lot of times they're on one of these,
or they're on their phone, right? Or they're on a mobile device, whether it's a phone, whether it's a tablet, or a gaming system, whatever have you. That's where they are. So this is an opportunity for them to get involved with the show and still be kind of in that electronic type of world, because, well, all they have to do is sit in front of their television or sit in front of their computer or whatever, right? And it's there for them. So I mean, I think that the Thunderdome for that aspect has been kind of good. You touched on the social media aspect of it. You're right. I mean, social media itself really only holds you for, a short, very period amount of time.
Yep.
What's it going to take though to get the younger crowd interested and involved?
I think you already hit it. This Thunderdome concept, getting people, like you said, since they're already on their devices, and that's how they can kind of tune in. I think that they kind of stumbled on it.
You know what? That's why I brought that up, because I mean, like, I'm not a huge fan of the Thunderdome. I think it's a great concept.
Yep.
I honestly do. I think it's a great concept. People still want to be able to go to live events, and this almost makes it feel as though it's kind of like a live event, but they're kind of seeing the backstage production side of things as well. When I have an opportunity to, either on a Monday or a Friday, if I have the night off, I'm really contemplating trying to throw my name in there and see if I can become part of the Thunderdome and stay there for the entire 3 hours or 2 hour period.
Make sure you're wearing your Turnbuckle Talk shirt. If you do.
Yeah, definitely I will be. Hopefully they allow it, because there's no self-promotion of anything, other than WWE, right?
Yeah.
So like, you see my stuff, I'd have to move the webcam to, the original position where it just shows the white screen in the background. But one other thing that I think is really lacking that might allow and grip a younger fan is persona. Now, right now we've got MJF, who is a really great heel right now in the business, and that's fine, that's perfect. But we need that one good guy as well. And, even if the two of them, and we take social media again, we take the two of them and they start kind of bickering and bantering back and forth on social media, that's where it's going to start to grip the younger people. And we need something that's going to be very catastrophic. That really happens. We're going to need something that goes viral.
Yeah.
That's going to be the thing. And then once this viral video or whatever it is hits, then that's when we're going to start to see more of a resurgence of younger fans coming in, because it's on social media. It has gripped them. It went viral. And now it's like, wow, what am I missing out on? Maybe I need to tune in.
And what I think, and specifically with WWE to hook in younger people, they've definitely, I think, stumbled upon something that appeals to them with the Thunderdome concept. Getting people to log in on their computer, their devices, that works. On top of it, though, they need to get back to, and I'm going to say that this applies specifically to WWE. I'm not going to apply it to all of professional wrestling, because it just... the New Japan formula works the way it is, and further on down the line, OVW works, the indie wrestling promotion, that works the way it is. For WWE to hook in the younger viewers, they need to get back to the superhero, supervillain-esque kind of personas, because kids love superheroes. They love supervillains. Hell, even we do to a certain extent. The kid and us still like superheroes and supervillains, but especially kids, they can really latch onto that stuff. If you take what you have and just kind of blow it up character-wise, then you could have something.
Exactly. No, and that's That's kind of what I was alluding to as well with the whole persona and characters thing, right?
Yep.
So you've got this mega heel right now in like MJF, right? But we need a few more of those. That's the big thing. We need a few more of those to be able to really grip those people so that they can have that kind of over the top type of superhero, super villain esque type of character to really grab at them. And then hopefully, maybe, will professional wrestling ever die? No, it definitely will not. Will it decline a little bit? Yeah, probably. As we've seen, right? Like, I mean, we look back at the Attitude Era, that was huge. People loved that era, right? Just and it worked back then. It worked. Doing stuff like that today,
no,
not so much. That wouldn't work, especially like the different stuff that they were doing with DX and with the Nation, and that would not fly at all today.
Yeah.
But back then that worked. Yep. And that's really what we need to find. We need to tap into something that's going to work to be able to get these people back.
Yep. And I think to make that happen at those higher up levels, you really need to have somebody, that is knowledgeable about, about actual pop culture these days, and somebody who's tech savvy and whatnot. And guess who isn't either of those two things here, Karl? Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So I'm not saying, that we didn't necessarily remove Vince as an owner, but I think that to help make this happen too, we need somebody who is just younger and who has those other attributes to kind of fill that CEO position eventually. Will it happen? Who knows? But I think and this is an important topic because this younger generation, once we're gone, these are going to be the people left to be the fans of professional wrestling. And if we haven't drawn them in, then we're going to see a real lack of interest in viewership in professional wrestling going forward if we don't find a way to really attract them to it.
That's right.
Pure and simple. All right, man. Well, that about wraps up for this week. For a week where we seemingly didn't have a whole lot of topics going in, or seemingly I thought, damn, we almost filled an hour and a half here, Karl.
Exactly. I mean, you and I both know the chemistry that we have. We've been able to do this anytime. You could give us only 2 topics and we'd be able to fill an hour. We definitely could, because our minds are wired a little bit differently. And we can really take things and spin them around into a different topic if need be, or whatever. So, I mean, you and I have always been able to do that. And thanks, Big Joe, for being part of this with me and bringing me in a while ago. And this is fantastic. 183 episodes in,
185 episodes, and we still are able to find new topics every week. And not too many times have we actually repeated a Showstopper segment. Occasionally I think we've kind of not repeated, but morphed the topics a little bit. But sometimes it can be hard to find new topics this week, but professional wrestling usually delivers in those aspects, and there's always something that happens. It's a wild, crazy world, and we love talking about it. So before we go for this week here, Karl, though, I'll let you talk a little bit about our main sponsors. And I have, and once you go through those, I have a little bit of an extra one for you guys that Karl hasn't even heard yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
So our main sponsors, we're looking at collarandelbowbrand.com. If you guys were listening and hearing this entire show, you did hear the commercial or see the commercial for collarandelbowbrand.com. Our friends over at collarandelbowbrand.com have some amazing merchandise. If you're watching the video, you have seen, as always, I am wearing my Collar and Elbow branded hat. I love this thing. It fits so comfortably. Go and check out collarandelbowbrand.com. While you're there, after you've decided what you want and you're going to make your purchase, use our promo code JK Podcast at the checkout. You're going to get yourself 10% off your entire order, whether that's new or clearanced merchandise. So make sure you go and check out collarandelbowbrand.com. As well, our second sponsor that we have is our friends over at Phoenix, fnxfit.com. Go and check out fnxfit.com for all your health supplement needs, whether it's protein powder, whether it's pre-workout, post-workout, super greens, collagen, testosterone, whatever you are looking for, go and check out fnxfit.com. If you're looking to save a little bit of money on your purchase from fnxfit.com, send us a message on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at TB Talk Pod, and we will ensure that you get a discount code to save some money. So make sure you go and check out fnxfit.com.
For sure. Now, the special one I haven't even told Karl about. I'll have to, you know what? I'll share my screen for this to make it kind of like a reveal here. As of just today, actually earlier this morning, I got to speak to these guys, and we have a little bit of a thing that I can offer for people here. So I'm going to share my screen, and you'll be able to see it come up here. And my friends here at Microplay here in Brantford, Ontario, Canada, we have a little bit of a deal here. So if you're somebody who's local in the area, if you go into the Microplay location here on King George Road in Brantford, and if you mention Turnbuckle Talk, they will give you 10% off your first toy purchase at the store. So if you want to go purchase your first toy at the Microplay store, mention us, Turnbuckle Talk, and you will get 10% off. So there you go, guys.
Damn, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Thank you, Microplay in Brantford. That's fantastic. Awesome.
Yep, they're a local video game retailer, and it's like a mom and pop style shop, and it's where I've done my video game shopping for the better part of I don't even know how long now. So it's great that we have a small retailer like this, because some of the bigger video game retailers kind of rip you off, and they don't do this. They have absolutely fantastic customer service. They treat you like family there, and that's why I like to go there, and why I like to support them. And now we have this little bit of a deal for you guys. So like I said, if you're in Brantford, mention Turnbuckle Talk, 10% off your first toy purchase inside the store.
And with all of those savings that you guys have got from collarandelbowbrand.com, fnxfit.com, yep, and now Microplay, you can use that to go to our store.
Yeah.
Check out our store at turnbuckle-talk.myshopify.com. You want to get yourself one of these shirts that Big Joe and I are wearing, whether it's purple, black, white, blue, green, orange. We got a plethora of colors. It's getting to be winter time. We have got a sweater there as well, black with the white logo on it. Go and check out our store, turnbuckle-talk.myshopify.com. Make a purchase there. Every time that you make a purchase there or at any of our sponsors, it definitely helps us out, keeps these video podcasts going, keeps the audio podcast going, and just keeps us bringing you professional wrestling talk. So make sure you go and check out all of those sites. Even if you don't buy something, you know what we ask you to do? Share it out. Share out our promo code even. And that's fantastic. If you can't make a purchase, that's fine. Share it out for us, and that definitely helps. One last thing quickly that I want to mention is that we still have our contest going on.
Yes.
Our run for 500. So we want to get our Facebook page up to 500 likes on the page. Once we hit 500 likes, we're going to do a draw, and that draw is going to win you a Jake the Snake Roberts autographed photo from my personal collection. As well, we'll let you be a co-host on an episode of Turnbuckle Talk.
There you go.
All you got to do is make sure that you're sharing it out for us, like the page yourself, and then send us a message on our Facebook page at TB Talk Pod to let us know that you have helped us grow to 500, and your name will be included and added into that draw.
Pretty sweet. If I was a fan of our show, I think I would definitely be in for that. And to be a guest with us, I mean, how cool is that?
Right?
How cool is that?
Yeah.
All right, man. That wraps it up for this week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a nice day.
It's me. It's an honor to be the beat. As you can tell in the background, we are out celebrating. That is what we do here at hittingthemarks.com. And I invite everyone, to continue to tune in to Turnbuckle Talk, but check out all of our other shows we have. You can find that all at hittingthemarks.com.
Run.